Am I edible? Can you hear me? Oh yeah, there's audio.
Yes, you are edible. I think the only thing that's not edible is vegan shit. You know what I mean?
Definitionally, that's false, but okay. Well, actually, you're right. Vegan shit wouldn't be edible, but then neither would the shit of people who eat meat.
True. So what's the crack, Shiva? You been up to much?
Have I been up to... I mean, you could say that, I suppose. What sort of time frame are we talking?
I'd say just like any updates since the last stream.
Oh no!
Or if you want to talk about philosophy as well, because I think I have the arguments. I have the je ne sais quoi.
You have the arguments.
Yes, the je ne sais quoi.
Or I went on VK earlier. I did quite enjoy going on VK.
Nice. Oh yeah, I actually remember that. You were talking about the art has no meaning.
No, I didn't say that at all.
Wait, did you not?
No.
That's my bad. Please be patient. My mom did take Tylenols. Okay. I did just wake up.
What I might have said was that the intent of the artist is irrelevant to the experience of the audience. But that's not the same as saying art has no meaning.
True. Because I think that was the thing that I wanted to point out. You know what I mean? And shout out to the Pseudo Master 7238 with the $5 says open panel, let's go. Or does the leprechaun want gold? If y'all rest y'all motherfuckers want to open up the panel, the leprechaun's got to get paid, motherfuckers. Okay, we got a gigantic pot to fill. We got bills to pay, all this shit. But we are also shit. 1 sec. God, I'm fucking up so much. See what I'm saying, Shiva? This is what happens when I fuck with my seating pattern. But we are 30% of the way already there, folks. So, like I said, get her done. We got Prince of Dogs. Oh, we're halfway there now. We got Prince of Dogs coming saying to open panel. I'm off the bed. 23 hours is enough for one day. Give the leprechaun his gold. My man. And we got Shazzy with the $10 coming in saying he here in spirit as pain is crying mode. That's me, the empathetic. LOL. Appreciate you, Shazzy. And let me give you a clip for that one. Because you are absolutely shredding it straight off the bat. Are we having fun yet, chat? We're halfway, only $25 more, and we can open up the panel if you want. But yeah, like the thing I wanted to get at in terms of that art thing was that it's like when an artist like paints a tree, although many different artists will paint a tree, like and even just an individual artist can paint a tree many different ways. It still has like some sort of like objective meaning behind it, where like it like every one of the spectators would all agree that it is a tree.
Right, but I think had you brought that up and were I on the panel, I would have dismissed it as being irrelevant to the prompt. Okay. Because the prompt wasn't about meaning. The prompt was at least the one that I was debating, the one that I can remember the clearest was it was kind of asking like, is it fit to separate an art from the artist is philosophically impossible, and I was arguing against that prompt, saying no, it is philosophically possible. So it wasn't about the meaning of the art. I mean, that might have come up incidentally, just in terms of
like a tangent
saying
or
that.
something.
Well, yeah, but just in terms of the experience of, say, listening to a song might have that some person hearing a song like might have nothing to do with the intention of the artist. They might not even know who the artist is.
True, and like that's why like I'm kind of like no matter what, if MJ done it or if MJ didn't do it, either way, Thriller's still a fantastic song. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I Want You Back is still a classic, you know? But I don't like, but here's the thing: like, we all know that OJ was guilty. Technically, he wasn't. But like, do we take him off the Hall of Fame? You know what I mean?
I think that's for each individual to decide for themselves, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, but the reason why I bring up OJ Simpson particularly is because like the league is the one that technically decides like that's an actual decision. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like the organization has to kind of like make a decision on that. Are we taking him out of the Hall of Fame, or are we ignoring his stats anytime it gets
right? But that's like a
shit?
business decision. That doesn't seem to me to be related to the prompt in a way, because I would expect that a corporation whose primary interest is in making a profit, they might want to act against something that's going to damage their profit margins. Yeah, sure.
But is it not the same thing? Like, was OJ Simpson like the running back, not the wife killer, but the running back aspect, just that aspect of him? Is that not like separating
but
Yardison?
no, because the prompt was it was that to separate them was philosophically impossible. Like what you're talking about is like not philosophy, like it's business or it's kind of culture, I suppose. But that's not philosophy, and
Yeah,
it
but it's
is
pop culture night.
philosophically. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but you're saying the prompt was set specifically philosophically.
Yeah.
But like I suppose like philosophically, it's possible to fucking fly off a building or
Separate
some
the
shit like
art
that.
from the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say like even culturally we should?
I think it depends. I mean, should implies a kind of moral thing, and as you know, I don't think morals really exist. But I think it depends, right? Like I think, like for example, I used to quite like the song by Gary Glitter, "Do You Want to Be in My Gang?" when I was a kid, because it's a catchy fucking tune, and so of course it would appeal to children. As an adult, I can't really listen to that, right? Like of the distaste that it produces. But that's not philosophy. That's kind of psychology.
Well, like you have like Kanye's song where like the one thing a lot of people seem to say was that when it comes to Yeezy, it was in terms of the beat or the music behind it, like was amazing. It's just the lyrics where that was put with it. But then like my argument would be in terms of like musical genius and musical creativity, like you cannot tell me that like Kanye's not a what would be the word? That he's not like coherent, because you can't produce music at that level.
I can't tell you that he is either, because I've never listened to a Kanye West song, because I have no interest in Kanye West.
Yeah, no, I get that. But in terms of the like what you sing across the 1 sec, let me just. But across the culture, it seemed to be that like the one thing that people like, even like people who were like against what like the Nazis did and all this kind of shit. The one thing that everyone was agreeing is like the beat is a slapping beat. The lyrics are, you know, unfortunate or whatever
Who's
terminology they
well,
wanted to go
no,
for. But
not everyone is agreeing to that. I'm
no, what
not,
I'm saying is the majority.
because I've never heard a Kanye West song, so I can't agree to that. That the beats are sick.
No. What I'm saying is the song where it says HH,
Yeah,
the latest one. You know what I mean?
right,
Like the majority of people would be like, I disagree with the lyrics, but the
right,
beat is a really good beat. You know what I mean?
right. So yeah, right. So, but that's and in do you think that in their minds they are having to separate the art from the artist in order to arrive at that position? Like, I don't really like the message, but you know, the music makes me tap my feet no matter what I think.
I'd say they go one step even in further. They're separating the art from the art. Do you know what I mean? They're separating the lyrics from the whatchamacallit, from the
Right,
actual
okay,
beat.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So if you're even able to do that within like the fact that we've witnessed is, or at least I've witnessed that phenomenon, like it would argue that people are able to do it on a cultural level, like even within like separating art from art. But in terms of the thing that I was saying of art, like this thing of that there does seem to be some sort of like objective meaning to certain things, and art itself can almost prove that through, like I was kind of saying with the example of
no,
like an artist drawing a tree.
no, no, because look, I don't think you can have any such thing as an objective meaning, because meanings are definitionally mind dependent. They're not independent of minds.
No, I'd argue that technically you have like what we point towards, like I said, that structure of a tree, like that it
Right,
technically is like wait, like to explain this, like that in terms of like our subjective minds, it is independent of those. But like
no,
the reason why that exists
no,
is
no.
because there is a divine intellect or an objective divine
Well,
intellect.
hang on, no. Now you're fucking moving the goalpost so far. You're actually playing a different
Hmm.
fucking game. Like,
No, that's
what
still
the
the same
fuck?
game. We're just playing. We're playing Gaelic football. You thought we were playing soccer, and you're kind of saying, "Hang a second, you've just picked the ball up into your hands." I'm like, "Yeah, we're playing Gaelic, bro." I said football, and you thought soccer. Crafty little leprechaun. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking sneaking in your transcendental minds. Fuck off.
What are you? The divine intellect, even Plato argued for it. What are we talking?
Maybe Plato was wrong. There's an
Maybe,
idea.
but then why did the Greek philosophy inspire the West?
Just because something inspired something doesn't mean that the thing that inspired the second thing is true in an objective sense. It just means that it spoke to individuals and resonated with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as an instrumentalist, isn't that all that matters?
Isn't that no? First of all, I'm not an instrumentalist. Um, and secondly, even if I were an instrumentalist, I don't think you can make the claim that that's all that matters.
If it works or not, like fundamentally. You know
I
what I mean?
mean, works. Like, when you read a poem, is the poem working?
Uh, how's the best way to explain it? Like when you look at like these tyrannical regimes and all this kind of shit. Like you think of like Germany or Russia or whatever. Oftentimes it's the fall comes from within it. It's like a coup d'état or whatever, where like some subgroup within that population, like this whole thing of like tribalism, like that overcomes, right?
Right.
And what is that? And when you look to movies, it's the moment where like the corruption is so transparently shown to the public or to the masses. Like think of Gladiator, things like that. Like those scenes where the corruption is so broad that like even the populace themselves, it's undeniable.
I mean,
you know what I mean,
you know that Gladiator is not a historical document, right?
You know, I get that, but what I'm talking about is that a moment where like there's something about that moment where like no matter what your ideology is or your belief system is, it's like
Right.
this is like that higher truth that like every single individual recognizes. You know what I mean?
No.
They might not act on it.
Wait, stop.
No.
Hang on, Teriak.
No.
How long? Right. How long have you been doing debates that you should use such sloppy language? And how long have you been having conversations with me that you're fucking using that sloppy language with me?
Yes, because what I'm talking about is I don't have a specific word for it. Like what I'm trying to point towards is that phenomenon. That phenomenon that I see.
Okay, so the phenomenon of a society kind of falling apart due to internal pressures, which isn't how all societies end. All right, but not all societies end through corruption and whatnot, right? So,
or from within or whatever. What I'm saying is that like that moment, like where you see like that phenomenon take place off like the coup d'état or whatever way they want to phrase it. Like that points towards that like there's something about that essence of corruption that the individual has been lied to. That fosters that rebellion.
I would fundamentally reject your proposition that there is an essence of corruption.
So like what I'm saying is that in terms of the essence of what they recognize or believe to be true, when that is shown to be false, and that you literally point to the specific liar, or like that's shown like in 300 it was the when the senator, she stabs the senator, the queen stabs the senator, and all the coins fall out and all this kind of shit, and everyone realizes, oh shit, they basically sold us out.
Right.
Like that is a kind of when it's shown that a particular individual has betrayed or gone against what is believed to be true, that essence of having reverence for truth is it's an objective phenomenon.
No, it's not. It's a subjective phenomenon, and not everyone has it.
So, okay, what makes you say that?
People lie.
Yes.
People intentionally say things that are not true.
Yes.
So that doesn't seem to me to indicate that they have any regard for the truth. The truth is just something that they can manipulate to achieve their own ends.
Okay, I have to be very careful how I phrase this. I don't want to be shifted any goalposts, but like, when I say reverence, I mean like respect in terms of like I respect gravity. You know what I mean? So I don't like
well, yeah, okay, yeah,
and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
So right, but that's not the same as saying you have a high regard for gravity, right? Like when you're saying that you respect gravity, what you're saying is that you acknowledge that there is this kind of physical system that you are bound by, but that doesn't mean that you think that the physical system is wonderful and deserves to be admired, right? And so we need to be careful about exactly how we're using the word respect, because when you say have a respect for truth, that doesn't seem to me to mean the same thing as respecting gravity.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is that because they're liars, that doesn't mean that they don't recognize the power of truth. It's the fact that they try to subvert it. But
That's not what you said. You said that they
yeah,
have a reverence for it,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
which is
I have to use particular words because like what I'm trying to point towards, like I don't have like that like scientific or a specific word that kind of like outlines it all. But what I'm saying is that when that is like there's a reason why like when like nobody fuck like I have to I'm kind of bound in place trying to get at what I'm pointing towards, but it's like essentially like nobody like you don't gain confidence like when you find out someone's been lying to you. You know what I mean?
you don't. Okay, yeah.
So it's like that's like an a objective rule or phenomenon that we can say about human
No,
condition, quote unquote.
no. It's a because that wouldn't apply to everyone, right? So you can't really make it an absolute thing because it isn't absolute. Like we want to. It's emotionally appealing to kind of turn like to reify concepts, but like as a Madhyamaka Buddhist, that's a like for me that's just a non-starter. Like I kind of view it as a fundamentally flawed exercise.
Why?
Because because um because if there is an absolute, it can't ever be expressed because language is definitionally like it's contingent. Like Wittgenstein has this whole thing of where he talks about when people are making statements, they are engaging in what he calls language games, where meaning is derived through usage.
Yeah, but that's not the only way meaning is derived.
When we're talking about words, yeah, sure, it is.
That's the only way meaning is derived.
In language, yeah. Well, maybe. Like, look, let's say you could have two different spheres. One is professional and one not, right? And the same word could be, okay, here's a great example. Here is a great example. In Buddhism, karma has a very specific meaning, right? So if I'm having a conversation with a Buddhist about karma, I know that we are actually talking about action because that's what the word means, right? However, if I'm talking to someone who's not a Buddhist and they're making reference to instant karma, when they're using the word karma, what they mean is some sort of retributive force, which is not what a Buddhist means when a Buddhist is talking about karma, right? So the meaning of the word karma is derived through how the word is being used by people in different contexts, right?
Yeah, yes, but there's still like for example like for example when we say like water in English and a Spanish person says aqua in Spanish, it's a different word but it's the same meaning.
Agreed. But when a Buddhist says karma, and an English or an American non-Buddhist who only is aware of karma as a kind of cultural meme, instant karma, when they say karma, they mean very different things.
Yeah.
Like what I'm talking about isn't different languages having different words for the same phenomena, but we know that when someone English says water and when someone Spanish or Italian or whatever the language is says aqua, that they're referring to the same object. I'm talking about people speaking the same language, using the same word.
But it having a different meaning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when you say like right, like you can say right as if you're agreeing, but you also say right as if like you're saying the word, but you're not agreeing. You know what I mean? Or like sarcasm's an example of that as well. You know what I mean? But those individual meanings are like, those different meanings are still objective. Objective.
No, because they're not mind independent. That's what objective means. Look, it's like, here's another really good example. I've recently started using the words moral and immoral again, and good and bad. Right? Like, so I will now quite happily say, yeah, I think murder is evil. Right? But then because I realized I'm not actually making a truth-apt statement. What I'm doing is using the prevailing language to express how I feel about the act of murder, right? And if, you know, someone wants to get into what I mean when I say murder is wrong, then we can get into, okay, yeah, what I'm actually doing is being an emotivist. I'm not making a truth-apt statement. I'm expressing an emotion, right? And so, and part of the reason why I want to do that is because I'm kind of getting more comfortable with this idea of language games. Like, words have meaning based on how they're being used. And what I mean when I say murder is wrong is going to be different from what a Christian means when they say murder is wrong.
Yes, but we say original statements, but then this is why we give hypotheticals to test where, or to give more of a clear image or more of a descriptor of precisely what we mean. Correct? Like more accuracy and more meaning.
Yeah.
I mean?
But like, you can appreciate, I'm sure, that say if Speakeasy were to say murder is wrong and I were to say murder is wrong, we would actually be saying different things.
But the meaning, no, I'd say the meaning is the same.
Oh, no, because we're saying fundamentally different things. I'm not making a statement about the act of murder. I'm telling you how I feel about the act of murder. Speakeasy is making a statement about the act of murder. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Yeah, you're talking about the your emotions about it. Easy's talking about like a duty of, or an action that you should or should not do.
Yeah.
I
Right.
understand that.
But we're using the exact same words, but we're saying very different things. What each of us means by the words "murder is wrong" is actually very, very different.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to point towards is that like those two different things are one and the same.
No, they're not. That's a contradiction.
When you fundamentally break them
Sorry, no. Look, the law of contradiction. They can't be the same. They can't be different and also be the same.
Same but different. Same but different. Because like you can be seriously unserious. I mean,
you can say that they're the same thing in that they are both statements. Sure, they're the same thing in that respect, but they don't mean the same thing.
What I'm like fundamentally digging down towards is that the reason why Easy. What is going on here? The reason why Easy is saying that you ought not do the action is because like it is the same cause or effect from I'm not using the correct words here, but the reason why it's a duty or whatever is because you have that particular that emotion about it. It causes that.
No,
that's not an emotion we ought pursue.
I don't want to speak for Easy here, but I think he would vehemently deny what you just said and say that you are mischaracterizing his position. I think that if you were to put it too easy, that actually secretly he is a moral emotivist, he would flat out deny that.
No, he would deny that. But what I'm saying is that once you follow on the logical conclusion of the moral emotivist position and the general, not just the easy position, but the general Christian position, you basically arrive at the same answer. I mean, so while
No,
yes, they're two
we're
different
saying
things, they
different things.
lead to the same thing.
Well, yeah, they might lead to the same
Yeah.
end goal in the world, right? But that doesn't mean
Yes.
that we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. I'm not using the right
that,
words, but to
yeah,
me, it leads. I should have said it leads to the same thing.
yeah. I mean, it can lead to the same end, sure. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But that's got
Like
nothing to
that's
do
my
with,
main argument. And that's why I don't call myself
yeah.
a Christian or I don't call myself Buddhist, whatever. Because it's like everything that you motherfuckers are quote unquote disagreeing about, it leads to the same thing anyway. So,
Well, yeah, and I kind of think that people generally agree on far more things than they disagree on.
Yeah.
But I actually am gonna really start enjoying fucking with the Christians' heads when I start saying things like, "Yeah, murder is evil," and then saying, "I'm not saying the same thing that you're saying when you say murder is evil."
But it's like the same way when I was saying what it is. What does is mean? You know what I mean? Like just showing like kind of
the word is refers to a state of being.
Yes. You know what I mean? But it's also basically truth. When you say something is, you're referring to truth.
Only if that thing actually is.
Yes.
If it isn't,
you're making a truth claim when you evoke is.
Yes. Well, no. Okay, I kind of get that, but that's if you have the view that words have intrinsic meaning. My view is that words do not have intrinsic meaning, and that meaning is derived through usage.
Well, in a sense that, yeah, like we could turn around and say, well, like what we mean by is, we're just basically just reversing is and
yeah. So what I would do in that, like, murder is evil, right? What I would do is say, actually, you trying to drill down into each specific word and say, what does that word mean, right? Is pointless, because on my view, all three words together are expressing an emotion with regard to an action. And they are just the three words that I am using, right? The first word denoting the action, the second word denoting a state of being, and the third word denoting whether I think it's good or bad, right? But but what I'm actually doing is using those three words not to talk about the act itself, but to express how I feel about the act. I'm not making a truth act statement. It just sounds like I am. And so I actually came up with an aphorism recently, which is what I think. So let me lay this out to you. Everyone is secretly a moral emotivist. To the extent that they are not aware of this, they make truth act statements, truth act moral statements that are false. And to the extent that they are aware of this, they do not make truth act moral statements that are false. And what's left unspoken, I don't want to make the aphorism too long, but on the end should be appended, even if they sound like they are.
Yeah, but what I'm fundamentally pointing towards is you're still, when you evoke the word is, you're still pointing towards like that truth thing and why all humans pursue.
No. Oh,
2 + 2 is 4. 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah, okay, yes. And in the way that the word is used in the language game of mathematics, it has a very specific meaning, but that's a different language game. That's not the same language game as me talking about how I feel about murder. And so the rules that apply to the language game of mathematics, they apply to that language game. The rules of poetry do not apply to mathematics, right? Because they're like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but you can teach mathematics through poetry.
I mean, you might, yeah, maybe, but there would be an incredibly inefficient way of doing it. And like you can, but you wouldn't, because it would, you know, there are much more straightforward ways of teaching mathematics.
True. And speaking of which, we got to catch up on the chat as well. We got to play Shazzy's clip, and then let's talk about me. So here's the first premium meme, folks.
This black preacher.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
It's your mama. It sure ain't your daddy.
That's right. Go ahead.
President Biden joining in on the conversation.
We didn't know what a woman. We didn't know what a woman is.
A woman is your mama.
That's right.
You mean to tell me you past 80 and you don't know your mama and your wife is a woman? They keep trying to shove this trash on Africa. And African presidents, one by one, is standing up against it.
That's what the black church used to be. These niggas done went woke over here. Gender and sex are synonymous, always have been. But they say this new gender identity. But then they conflate gender identity with gender. They say your genitals don't determine your sex, your gender. So why are you chopping your dick off? If this determines you're a woman, why are you chopping your cock off? Just call it a vagina. You're calling yourself a woman.
And the second clip is let's talk about me.
Let's talk about me. Let's talk about the 6'8" frame, the 37-inch vertical leap, the black steel that drips down my back, aka the bulletproof mullet, the Google prototype scopes with built-in LCD, LED 1080p 3D Sony technology, the Ethiopian poisonous caterpillar, aka Slick Daddy. Let's talk about the cabinets right behind me that go 40 feet deep into the wall that houses the other 95% of my trophies, the awards, the certificates, all claiming first place, right? Let me give you a little inside glimpse into the hotshot video gaming lifestyle of the two-time international video gaming superstar. Because that's what this channel's about. That's what this domain's about. That's what the society is about. You're looking at the face of Twitch, and goddamn, is Twitch lucky.
Shout out to you folks in chat. I have a new super chat goal there as well. This is one is to prevent the grift break. Folks, we're only $10 away from getting to the open panel as well. So if you just want to join in the chaos and the madness, be favore, chat. But yeah, like when I'm talking about like is, like that's why I kind of say it's like in mathematics you can say 2 + 2 is 4, 2 + 2 = 4. But like what is your kind of like counter in terms of that?
Yeah, for mathematics. Right, because it isn't actually 2 + 2 is 4. There's you have the numerical symbols and then the operators, and the equals is the operator, right? And so it's saying if you have 2 and you add 2 onto it, then that kind of is the same thing as 4, right? But that's mathematics. That's that's its own language game.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like so you know, for example, like chess is its own language game, right? The words knight and bishop and king and queen in chess have a very specific meaning, right? But in medieval England, the words knight and bishop and king and queen had an entirely different meaning, because the language game of ranks and nobilities is not the same language game as the language game of the rules of chess, even though they are using the same words, and the words in the language game of chess were derived from the language game of ranks and, you know, like peerages, right? Bishops and kings and queens and knights and whatnot. But knights in the real world don't move 2 steps forward and 1 step sideways, because they're not the same thing. It's a different language game.
Yeah, but in terms of the
Wait. So like
poetry
you
of
can't
it.
take the rules of one language game and say, well, look, the rules of this language game work this way, and so in this language game, the rules must be the same.
You know what we're pointing towards with that is in terms of the specific rules or the movement of twos, like they're two different physicals. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about like
No.
a chess piece versus a human, but in terms of the, for example, both knights would have special privileges that no other piece or no other title can do, which is true.
Well, yeah, but they're different things, right? They're different concepts. When you say a knight in terms of chess, you're actually thinking of a move, right? The piece is shaped like a horse. It evokes a kind of knight on horseback. But when you say knight in chess, what you are actually referring to is 2 steps forward and 1 step sideways. When you say a chivalrous knight, what you are referring to is a warrior in armor, maybe on horseback, who followed a specific code of conduct. They're 2 different language games, but the same word, because in each language game has very different meanings.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's certain things you can say about both that are true.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
sure.
like that, yes.
And
So
and then that in itself, that in itself, that kind of mode of speech would be its own separate language game with its own rules.
Okay, then what is the language game that I'm playing when I say that?
Okay, so language game, like it's a concept that Wittgenstein came up with. He was a German 20th century philosopher. Like to our modern ears, it can sound like it's an insult, but it's not. Like he's not saying, "Oh, like this is bad." He's just kind of saying, like, this is what we do. And so, in different contexts, the words have like meaning changes based on how the word is being used. And so what you can't say is that words have any sort of intrinsic meaning. So what you're doing right now, trying to drill it into the word is, Wittgenstein would say, no, you're kind of missing something here, because the language game of mathematics has, its own intricate kind of rule set that governs how that language game operates. And that's not the same language game as, if you've got 2 mates in a pub who are just, chatting about work, right? They finished work and they just go for a drink afterwards and they're just shooting the shit about work. That's a very different language game. And so, like the is word in mathematics would be operating according to the rules of that language game, and the is word with the 2 mates in the pub would be operating according to the rules of that language game, and it would mean different things.
Oh shit! Sorry, 1 sec. But like, what I'm saying is, like, when you do the whole like language game shit, you know what I mean? It's not really like when you're talking to a stranger, what language game are you playing?
The language game of talking to a stranger.
Yeah, so then it's basically like the just another way to try and add oh shit. Like basically it's kind of like, oh, like that's just the new language game, new rules, new meanings. Then it's basically you cannot tie meaning down to any specific word.
You
But we
can't,
both
no,
know
not
yeah.
intrinsically. Yeah, I did say that. I keep saying it.
so-
I've been fucking saying it for months.
Yeah.
Words don't have intrinsic meaning because meaning is
no.
derived through usage.
Yeah, no, but there's still objective meaning.
No, there can't be. If meaning is derived through usage, you cannot therefore say it is objective. All right, look, you can maybe say that if we all agree that a dictionary, that you and I agree that we are going to refer to the same dictionary, and whatever the definition is in the dictionary, like that is the meaning, right? If you and I both agree, then yes, like you could then say there's an objective meaning that neither of us came up with, so it's independent of our minds, right? Like certainly, but not like objective and in any kind of absolute universal sense. No, I don't think so. That would need to be demonstrated.
Yeah, so the way I'd phrase it would be like when you say there is no intrinsic meaning, is that a meaningful statement?
Intrinsically or conventionally?
Like, are you saying it's a different answer for depending on which one it is?
Like yeah, like certainly I'm trying to communicate something, right? But the statement itself isn't intrinsically meaningful.
Yeah. So like by your own arguments, you like you're saying that there is no intrinsic meaning and that means something objectively and that's a truth claim.
Well, yeah, sure, conventionally. Look, I mean, there's this in Buddhism, you get this kind of concept, or at least in Madhyamaka school of Buddhism, you get this kind of idea of two like orders of truth: absolute truth and conventional truth, right? Absolute truth you kind of apparently experience through engaging with Buddhist practice, right? But you can never express it because language is necessarily conventional. So the only truths that you can express are conventional truths. Right, so we could both like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. I think at bar whatever it is, just like normal atmospheric pressures, right? And that's kind of true, but we're not saying anything kind of absolute about the universe. What we're doing is describing a process that is all dependently arisen, which is conditional.
Yeah, but even the stuff that you're saying is like you just flip the argument back on itself.
Yeah, and there's a chapter, one of the final chapters in the Mula Madhyamaka Karaka, is the author of the book, Nagarjuna, who was alive in the 2nd century. The method that he'd been using in the book to attack all of these views that were kind of present when he was alive, right? He then uses that same method to show how even what he is saying is ultimately empty. And so in this kind of doctrine of emptiness that you get in Buddhism, you get like different stages of emptiness, where there's the emptiness of kind of phenomena, but what you end up with is like the emptiness of emptiness. It's just another concept. And
yeah,
all
what
concepts,
I'm saying,
all concepts are dependently arisen because they arise within the mind.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that like fundamentally, like when you flip the question on itself, you can say, what's the meaning of meaning? And you say there is no meaning.
No,
how can you
that's
make
not what
that
I would
claim?
say. That's not what I would say. I would say it depends.
Yeah, like that's like kind of like I don't know.
No,
You know what I mean?
it
Like,
depends. It depends on the context, right? Like the meaning of meaning in, say, the philosophy of mathematics probably has a very specific kind of definition, but that's not going to be anything like the meaning of meaning in the sphere of poetry, right? Like it depends on the context that you're talking about.
Yeah, you're saying like it's context dependent, but what I'm saying is that like in terms of the raw kind of like definition or meaning to the word meaning. You know
In
what I mean?
what context? In poetry? In
Yeah,
dance?
like, like when we evoke meaning, like what is meaning?
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about mathematics, then meaning is what certain symbols represent specific concepts. For example, numerals. Certain other symbols represent specific modes of operation. So two means what two means. Addition means what addition means in mathematics. And probably there are numerous textbooks that actually will tell you, you know, I don't really study the philosophy of maths, but, you know, and I think there's a fundamental kind of mismatch here between how we communicate. Because when you say, well, what is the essential meaning of the word meaning? My response would be, well, the question is flawed.
How so?
Where would this meaning reside?
Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you're to say to turn meaning on itself, like if meaning was to ask itself what does meaning mean?
What in
You know what I mean?
language? What does meaning mean in linguistics? Because that would have its own definition, right?
I just mean yeah, like when we're evoking the word, like when I mean this or when I mean that. You know what I mean? When you flip that in on itself, if you're to say there is no intrinsic meaning or there is no whatchamacallit meaning, like there is no intrinsic meaning to words or whatever, where it's like an unchanging thing and all this stuff. That's still kind of like beating around the bush in terms of even if to grant what we conventionally believe to be true.
Great.
Or the conventional truth we believe to be true.
Right, and within that language game, that's what the word meaning means. I wouldn't have an issue with that. We could, if you wanted to, I could probably unpack my shorter Oxford dictionary, which is the two volume set, and we can look up the word meaning and see what it means in different areas. But it's like if you're just saying what does the word meaning mean in language, sure, let's look it up. I couldn't tell you the exact definition off the top of my head, but there probably is one, right, in the dictionary. But here's the thing: dictionaries are descriptive. They're not prescriptive. What dictionaries do, and this is the reason why they get updated every year, is they tell you how words are being used. They don't say this is what the rules say this word means. When the dictionary gives you the definition, what it's doing is telling you how people are using that word. Did you know that?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the meaning behind those words that is conveyed, that is
changes. No, it changes. It changes over time.
No, before it changes, that meaning, whatever that is, because then it changes, it's pointing to something else. But the original meaning is still its own thing, and then the new meaning it's pointing towards is something new, obviously, something different.
Right. And then when people then consistently only use the word in the new meaning, it no longer means what it used to mean, because the meaning has changed. Right, here's a word, enormity. The word enormity means a great evil. That's the meaning, the original meaning of the word, right? But the way that people use the word online, and I've kind of gotten over it now, Look, I'm not saying that I like that this is the way things are, but this is the way things are, right? The way that people use the word now is to mean something very big, because it's similar to the word enormous, right? And they probably have the same root, like enormity and enormous probably come from the same root word.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is that even if the meaning changes to the word, like the word is just basically like think of like an arrow and it's pointing to some sort of like phenomenon or some sort of like
Yeah.
description or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
While that arrow might change its direction, the thing it was pointing to is still an objective phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it's pointing to an objective phenomenon. But yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
You know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about in terms of like when I'm evoking meaning and in terms of like is being the
Right,
true
yeah.
thing and like all that.
Yeah.
Kind of shit,
So
yeah.
you're yeah, but that's this particular language game. Do you see what I mean? Like
What do you
or,
mean by
let
mean?
me I'm actually going to answer that very question. Do you grasp what it is that I'm trying to communicate to you? Now, see how the word mean in that one instance actually meant something quite specific, which it might not mean in the rest of this conversation.
Yes, but the understanding that you have and are trying to translate into my experience is like I said, like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like the same thing where it's these two different things. Like if they just keep if they're to follow on, just to kind of like take that extra step, they'd all fundamentally arrive at the same answer. You know what I mean?
No, not
Yes.
necessarily. Sometimes, in the course of debates, where two people are using the same word, and then they decide, to actually ask, are we actually saying the same thing here? And then they'll say, well, what do you mean by that? And this is what I mean by that. And then sometimes they realize, oh no, we actually mean very different. Like we are saying very different things. It's just that the ways that some words are used might not be within our kind of sphere of experience, generally speaking, right?
Yeah. So
I would imagine, for example, that this whole kind of language of language games is probably going to be quite alien to most people.
Yeah, but like fundamentally to sum it all up, you're saying that like people can say the same thing, but they mean two different things. And
Yes.
also people can mean the same thing, but they say two completely different things.
Yeah.
Goes both ways. Yeah. So like what I'm trying to point towards is that the when you look at the like what we started at with this whole thing of like you saying murder is evil and Easy saying murder is evil, you are both saying the same thing, but you mean something different.
No, we're not. Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Yes. We are saying the same words. Yeah. Sorry.
You're saying the same words, but they mean something different.
Yes.
But
yes.
What I'm trying to say is that both of those things are linked.
Yes, certainly they're connected, right? Like we're both talking about actions, I suppose.
So you're talking about two perspectives of the same thing or the same phenomenon.
I think so. I think because like I suppose Easy's position, and again I don't want to mischaracterize him here, but I think I'm going to get this right. Would be that he is making truth-apt moral statements that are true, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And my position is that people, if they are making moral truth-apt statements, then those statements are false, and that what people are really doing is expressing an emotion
Yeah, like the way I look at it is there's deontologists, which are the people who say this is a duty and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And you'll say, well, duties don't exist and all this kind of shit. Sorry, there's
Well, I won't
deontology
say that.
and then there's, well, no, like the
What,
counter is
what on
because
earth
there's
makes you?
deontology.
Oh right, yeah,
You
go
know,
on, go on.
what I'm saying is that there's the deontologists, and then the opposite of that is the utilitarians, right? And
Right.
the utilitarians would say there's no such thing as duty. Duty doesn't exist, and all this kind of stuff. We only look at the outcome because we want the favorable outcomes. But my critique to arguably both positions would be use both are essentially kind of like you're just looking at two different perspectives to the same solution, because if the utilitarian is to actually be objective, they will arrive to a similar structure of the deontologist.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think I'm not really a utilitarian. I wouldn't say that I'm a deontologist either, although in like you could say that Buddhism is somewhat like is a little bit deontological in its nature, in that it focuses on intention, which is also part of deontology. And there is generally, like, within the framework of Buddhism, you definitely do have obligations. You have responsibilities as a practitioner.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying, where it's like you when you see, like, especially on like the more kind of political lens now, it's like the people who kind of like criticize the Christians and all this kind of stuff, it's an unfair criticism. And if people were to do the exact same
Quite
thing
often,
that they were
yeah.
doing the Christian,
Yeah,
and like if they do the exact same thing they're doing the Christians to Muslims, they'd be like, oh, Islamophobe and all this kind of shit. But because they're Christian, I think it's because they know they can get away with it.
yeah,
The Christian will
I'd
turn the other
inclined to
cheek.
agree with you. And also, well, maybe there is, like, I don't mind debating Muslims, although I don't actually know a lot about Islam. So when I do debate Muslims, I do have to tell them, look, I can't really debate the specifics of your religion. It's going to have to be a much more general kind of debate, because, you know, like, I can't argue against your doctrine really because I haven't read the Quran, and I certainly haven't fucking read the Hadith. So, you know, but I think you are like, so it might not just be fear, and also that Christians are perceived as safe, although I do definitely agree that's probably a large component, but also for some people maybe it's about actually they just don't understand Islam well enough to be able to debate it really.
Because like for me, like I can easily attack it right off the bat with the, like, their Satan is called Iblis, or
Right.
sorry, their Lucifer or whatever type character, the angel that, like, God was like, this is my top boy or whatever, and then after that he betrays him and all that kind of shit. He's called Iblis, and the reason why he gets in trouble is because he told God told, or Allah as they call him, Alan told Iblis, listen, you cannot bow to anybody else except me. And Iblis was like, yeah, don't worry, brah, got you. So then God, Alan creates humans, and he's like, yeah, Iblis, I need you to bow to man. I need you to bow to Adam. And it was like, nah, fuck that. I'm going based on the thing you told me to, was never bow to anybody except for Allah. And then he basically punishes Iblis, and that's why Iblis leads to rebellion, all that kind of shit in that sense. Which the easy oh my god, the easy counter to the Muslims there is like, okay, you start with, should you bow to man or bow to Allah? And they'll all say you have to bow to Allah. But if you put that argument back onto Iblis and say, well, to the Muslims, like, do you not think that Allah was being unfair to our boy here? Because, you know what I mean, like you yourself, you only bow to Allah. So why should Iblis bow to you and not bow to Allah? You know what I mean? It's basically like the contradiction that you have to be able to resolve. But you throw that contradiction at the Muslim and they're not able to handle it. Hence, if you look at any time Manar's been on panel, and I've been...
Well, come on, Manar's not exactly I wouldn't say that Manara was a good Muslim interlocutor.
No, but it is something that you throw at them and they don't have an
No,
answer.
there's you. I think it depends. Like there are some people, like there are contradictions in the Bible, and some people, you know, at least try and have a stab at being skilled at arguing those contradictions. And I'm guessing that there must be Muslims who are aware of contradictions in the Quran and have, you know, well thought out responses to them. It's just that the quality of, you know, I don't really interact with Muslims that often. I mean, I did bump into, like, I went through a short phase last year of debating people on Instagram, and there are more Muslims on the Instagram than the people that we associate with here. And, you know, some of them were fucking smart people, man. Right? They had arguments.
But like that's the thing in terms of when you look at what Plato argues for and all this kind of shit. It's this thing that you need that religion just to bind the people, and then the essence, like the noble lie. It's like if this quote unquote lie actually binds the people and it's actually conducive and productive for society, would you not rather people believe the lie or the illusion? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, no, I would rather that they were able to do that through the truth. Now, if they can't, fair enough. Like I don't have a problem with people being Christian, and you know, if you're able to follow a kind of doctrine, and I don't think it's true, but it resonates with you and it makes you a better person, and you're kind of, you know, more integrated and happier and all that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, great. Like, now, if you want to have a debate, if you want to come into a debate sphere and say, hey, I'm challenging you with this viewpoint, then I'll argue the fucking toss with you, right? Like, but I don't actually really, like, it doesn't matter. I'm not invested in what you believe, as long as what you believe isn't, like, if what you believe is likely to lead to say an increase in physical violence among people, then I'm likely to disagree with that. But that's just because I don't like violence.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying in terms of the interesting thing about that is that, like, if it is to be where this is like more productive, it seems like everybody be like, yeah, I don't mind, you know, the let's say like Christianity or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because like fundamentally, like you can point to objective things and
Right.
do it. And like, again, this is another way that I kind of like expose atheists, where it's like I give you like a flourishing human society, I give you utopia, but everyone is going to be talking about Jesus and all this kind of stuff. Are you okay with that? And they'll say no. Which to me, I'm like,
that sort of
makes no
depends,
sense.
because if you're saying everyone, then that includes them, right?
Yeah. Well, like in terms of the because when you look at some of the shit that the Christians say, it's actually good stuff. I
Agreed.
mean, like, we're running around acting as if like the Christians are saying like we need to lock y'all back in chains, or if you're not Christian, you're not black, and like crazy shit like this. You know what I mean? That was Joe Biden, by the way.
Christians, all right, okay. Are Christians saying that? Is Joe Biden a Christian?
Well, no, with Jesus. Like, Jesus is not saying that shit. You know what I mean? And like that's what I'm trying. Oh shit! Yeah, sorry.
Well,
panel is open. I need to pin the link. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he did tell slaves to obey their masters.
Well, like, true. And in terms of the essence of like when you have when you have that perspective of like back in the day and all this kind of shit, but when you look at modern day, like, could you not argue that like we kind of tell the same thing to like, or sorry, you can point at the like this whole thing of people are basically signing up to a 30, 40-year mortgage, and they're kind of locked into a job that they don't
but that's-
necessarily like. You know where I'm going with it?
I get that, but they can always choose to do otherwise. They're not actually slaves. They
True,
could sell
but
the
you could
house,
also argue
right, and
that
get,
they choose to run away.
a smaller flat. They could sell the house, get a smaller property. Like they're not actually I mean, circumstance might be restricting them, but that's circumstance. That's not like slavery.
True to a degree, but I got a couple things to catch up on with chat. Firstly, let me know which premium meme you want. I also got to play the Pepe for in the goal.